How many times have you said or done something in the heat of the moment that you later regretted? How often do your emotions hijack your decisions and lead you down paths you never intended to take? We live in a world that constantly triggers our emotions: social media arguments, work stress, relationship conflicts, daily frustrations. Most people are slaves to their emotional reactions, but the most successful and peaceful people have learned one crucial skill: emotional mastery. This story will teach you that skill. In Miami, Florida, lived a 28-year-old restaurant manager named Carlos. He worked at a busy upscale restaurant in South Beach and was known for his explosive temper. When servers made mistakes, Carlos would yell at them in front of customers. When suppliers were late, he would curse and threaten to find new vendors. When customers complained, Carlos would get defensive and argumentative. Carlos's emotional outbursts were destroying his career and relationships. His girlfriend, Maria, was getting tired of his mood swings. "Carlos, you fly off the handle at everything," she would say. "I never know which version of you I'm going to get." His staff were afraid of him. Good servers were quitting because they couldn't handle his unpredictable reactions. His boss, Jennifer, had already given him 2 warnings. "Carlos, you're a talented manager, but your temper is a liability." Jennifer had said, "Customers are complaining, staff morale is terrible, and you're creating a hostile environment. If this doesn't change, I'll have to let you go." But Carlos felt justified in his reactions. "I'm passionate about excellence," he would tell himself. "If people would just do their jobs properly, I wouldn't have to get upset." Carlos's breaking point came during a busy Saturday night. The restaurant was packed, they were short-staffed, and everything was going wrong. A new server spilled wine on an important customer. The kitchen was behind on orders, and the credit card system crashed. When a customer complained loudly about waiting 40 minutes for food, Carlos completely lost it. He got into a shouting match with the customer in the middle of the dining room, causing other guests to stare and feel uncomfortable. The customer stormed out, promising negative reviews online. That night, Jennifer called Carlos into her office. "That's it, Carlos. You're suspended for a week without pay. Use that time to figure out how to control your emotions, or don't bother coming back." Carlos was devastated. He had worked in restaurants for 8 years and loved the industry, but his temper was sabotaging everything he cared about. The next day, feeling lost and ashamed, Carlos visited his uncle, Roberto, who lived in Coral Gables. Roberto was 65 years old and worked as a high school principal. Despite dealing with difficult teenagers and stressed parents daily, Roberto always seemed calm and composed. Carlos found his uncle sitting by the small pond in his backyard, feeding fish and looking completely peaceful. "Uncle Roberto, I messed up big time," Carlos said, slumping into a lawn chair. "I got suspended from work because I can't control my temper. I don't know what's wrong with me. Everything just makes me so angry." Roberto looked at his nephew with compassionate eyes. "Carlos, come sit with me by the water. I want to show you something." They sat quietly by the edge of the pond. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the blue sky and white clouds like a mirror. "What do you see when you look at this water?" Roberto asked. "I see the sky, the clouds, your house," Carlos replied, not understanding the point. "Exactly. When the water is calm, it reflects everything clearly and beautifully. But watch what happens when I do this." Roberto picked up a small stone and threw it into the center of the pond. Immediately, ripples spread across the surface, distorting the reflection and making it impossible to see anything clearly. "Now what do you see?" Roberto asked. "Just ripples and distorted images," Carlos said. "Right. The same sky is still there. The same clouds, the same house. Nothing in the environment changed, but because the water is agitated, it can't reflect reality clearly anymore." Roberto waited for the water to settle before continuing. Carlos, your mind is like this pond. When it's calm, you can see situations clearly, make good decisions, and respond appropriately. But when your emotions are stirred up, like these ripples, you can't see anything clearly. Everything becomes distorted. Carlos began to understand where this was going. When that customer complained last night, what really happened? A person was frustrated about waiting for food, that's all. But because your mind was already agitated from the stressful evening, you couldn't see the situation clearly. Instead of a simple service problem that needed to be solved, you saw it as a personal attack that needed to be defended against. Roberto picked up another stone. Every time someone does something that bothers you, it's like throwing a stone into your mental pond. You have a choice. You can let the ripples control your reactions, or you can learn to keep your water calm. But how do I keep my water calm when everything around me is going wrong? Carlos asked. Roberto smiled. Let me show you something else. He threw several stones into the pond at once, creating chaos on the surface. Look carefully at the bottom of the pond. What do you see? Carlos looked deeper. The bottom is still calm. The rocks and sand down there aren't moving at all. Exactly. No matter how much disturbance there is on the surface, the depths remain peaceful. That's what you need to develop. A deep, calm center that doesn't get disturbed by surface events. Over the next hour, Roberto taught Carlos specific techniques for emotional mastery. He showed him how to pause before reacting, how to take deep breaths to calm his nervous system, and how to ask important questions before responding. When something upsets you, Roberto explained, ask yourself, is this worth disturbing my peace? Will getting angry actually solve this problem? How do I want to be remembered after this moment passes? Roberto also taught Carlos the difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is automatic, usually excessive, and often makes things worse. Responding is thoughtful, appropriate, and usually makes things better. When Carlos returned to work the following week, he was determined to apply what his uncle had taught him. His first test came quickly. A server dropped a tray of expensive dishes during the lunch rush, creating a loud crash and losing several orders. The old Carlos would have exploded, but this time, Carlos felt the familiar surge of anger rising like ripples on his mental pond. Instead of reacting immediately, he paused, took a deep breath, and accessed the calm depths that Roberto had shown him. Are you okay? Carlos asked the server calmly. Did you get hurt? The server was shocked by Carlos's gentle response. No, I'm fine. I'm so sorry, Carlos. I know those plates were expensive. Don't worry about it. Accidents happen. Let's just clean this up and remake those orders. Everything's going to be fine. The entire staff noticed the difference. Instead of creating more stress and chaos, Carlos's calm response actually helped everyone refocus and handle the situation efficiently. Over the following months, Carlos's reputation completely changed. Staff members began to respect rather than fear him. Customer complaints dropped dramatically. His relationship with Maria improved as she saw him becoming more emotionally stable and mature. 6 months later, Jennifer promoted Carlos to Assistant General Manager. During his promotion announcement, she said, Carlos has shown remarkable growth in his leadership and emotional intelligence. He's become the kind of manager that brings out the best in everyone around him. That evening, Carlos called his uncle to share the good news. Uncle Roberto, I got promoted. The lake lesson changed my life. Roberto chuckled. Carlos, I didn't change your life. I just showed you that you had the power to keep your own water calm all along. The truth is, we all face daily situations that can agitate our mental waters. Difficult people, unexpected problems, stressful circumstances. These are the stones that get thrown into our pond. But we have a choice in how we respond. Most people live their entire lives being tossed around by emotional ripples. never realizing they have the power to access the calm depths within themselves. They let external circumstances control their internal state, giving away their power to anyone or anything that happens to trigger them. But emotional mastery is a learnable skill. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending problems don't exist. It's about developing the ability to stay centered and clear-headed so you can respond to life's challenges from a place of wisdom rather than reactivity. The next time someone or something threatens to disturb your peace, remember the lake. Ask yourself, do I want to let this create ripples on my surface, or do I want to respond from the calm depths? The choice is always yours. Your emotions don't have to control your life. You can learn to master them, and when you do, you'll find that life becomes not just more peaceful, but more successful and fulfilling in every way. If this story inspired you to start mastering your emotions instead of being mastered by them, give it a like and share what triggers you want to handle better in the comments. Remember, the deepest waters are always the calmest.